So, the Orange Don had his little man pretending to be a big man moment a few days ago when he inexplicably used his power as commander-in-chief to require his top military commanders to leave their posts, come to one place where he could submit them to another one of his rambling, mindless, meandering monologues for over an hour. Why did he do this? Well, we can only speculate. There's only, you have to speculate as to what's going on. There's no way of really knowing what's going on in that cholesterol-addled mind of his. But one thing you can't rule out is that small people, little people, like the Orange Don, like his mindless minion Pete Hegseth, like imposing themselves. They get their rocks off by imposing themselves on actually competent, larger-than-life, big people like your top military brass of the Pentagon. You can't rule out the imposition of narcissism in the decisions that are being made by the little people in this administration that have been lifted by this reactionary medieval movement called MAGA. Can't rule it out. But another thing we can't rule out is the authoritarian pretensions of this regime. And what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is the Orange Don needs his military. In the span of modern history, every time an authoritarian government or an authoritarian regime loses its grip on the military, loses control of the military, they fall. They fall. Authoritarian regimes can oftentimes handle dissent, they can handle riots in the street, they can handle uprisings, so long as they keep control of the military, so long as the military is willing and ready to perform the violence required by the state can keep control. The authoritarian can keep control. The minute the military says, no, we're not going to use violence against your own people, that is illegitimate use of our skills. We're not going to do that. The minute the military steps back and says, we're not going to impose on our citizens, the authoritarian falls. We saw this. The Russian Revolution is a perfectly good example. Russian soldiers refusing to fire on the food rioters in the streets. Those are our cousins, our brothers and sisters in some cases, our mothers. We're not going to fire on them. They're just hungry. We're going to refuse orders. We're not going to do it. And the regime fell. The Tsar fell. We saw this in Egypt under Mubarak. Mubarak tried to impose his will on these democratic movements that were rising in Tahrir Square. The military said, we're not going to shoot these people. And Mubarak was out. I mean, there's a list of authoritarian regimes that failed because they lost control of the military. Now, I don't know if the Orange Don knows this, but certainly the people who work for him know this. And we do know that he has authoritarian goals. He said it during this meandering speech. He was able to vomit out some cohesive goals when he said that the United States is experiencing an invasion from within. An invasion from within. And this invasion is just as much a threat as any foreign invasion could be, right? Well, who's this invasion from within? It's me. And it's probably you. You've been watching this video for 4 minutes. You're probably the invasion. So he needs the military to deal with you. Now, when he sent the military into Los Angeles, we told you. We said he's going to do this in other cities, and he did. We're telling you again, he's going to do this in other cities. Your city, your neighborhood, is going to have soldiers marching through it, imposing his will, using violence. Unless the military says no. Unless the military says, we're not going to do that. We're not going to violate posse comitatus. We're not going to violate our oaths. When you become an officer in the United States military, actually, if you join the United States military, you take an oath to what? To the Constitution. You take an oath to the values of the country. You do not take an oath to the president. You take an oath to obey his lawful orders, but you don't take an oath to him. So the president needs his military. And of course, one of the ways that he does this is by imposition. He's going to impose his will on these soldiers. Will he be able to pull it off? His speech was an embarrassment. And everybody in that room, except maybe Pete Hegseth, knew it was an embarrassment. So, in this move, did he make it easier for him to impose his will using military violence? Or did he just make it a lot harder? I guess time will tell.